Okay, now I'd like to cover the 24-volt polarized media air cleaner. We've got many new features here that you may not be aware of, but the actual function is the same. Polarized media, polarization means it's polarized, it's magnetic. So it's got a magnetic field so it can magnetically attract particles. Now if you remember from training, 92% of the particles in the air are either positively charged or negatively charged. And every fiber in here has a positive side and a negative side. So the polarization holds those particles, then we have enough voltage to plate those particles onto the fibers here. So what we've got inside is a very low oil content, high glass content fiberglass with a low pressure drop carbon center screen. So what that does is it accepts the charge off the probe. We've got the 7,000 volts of energy comes off of this power head here. And all you guys do is just wire it in, this plugs this in just like a computer or a calculator, and that wires into a transformer, RNC, just wire it hot. So as that probe embeds itself, when you close this up, that probe embeds itself inside the carbon. So then carbon induces the voltage onto every fiber here equally. So we got 7,000 volts of energy running through this whole pad. So as the particles are coming through here, the positive and negative particles, they get plated or electroplated to the fibers themselves, physically removing them out of the air, not allowing them to go back into the airspace. This gives this, with multiple passes, about 97% at 0.3 microns. I'd also like to point out some new features that we have. If you remember, we used to have clips on top of here to keep this thing tight and closed. But the challenge with that is when sometimes the clips would get caught on a burr or something inside the filter rack, and they would open up while you're pulling it out and they get stuck. So you'd almost have to damage the clips in order to get this out. We've recessed the new clips inside where the power head is here. So this opens just like the other one did, except the other one opened long way or short ways. This opens a long way. And if you remember, we used to have underneath here little hinges, and they stood up about that much. So when you would put this on a filter rack, it would raise it off of the floor of the filter rack, and you'd get some blow-by. So we've eliminated that by putting the hinge. We buried an ABS synthetic hinge right inside the extruded solid aluminum frame. So this is solid aluminum as opposed to hollow. So that gives us a lot of strength and rigidity, which helps from damaging from shipping and damaging when you're putting it inside the filter rack. It gives it a real sturdy rigidity there. So we've got the power head that induces 7,000 volts of DC energy onto the pad. And it's a potted electronic board. And what that means is we basically take the board. If you have an open electronic board inside ductwork, you're going to get moisture, mold, dirt, dust, and debris build up on it, and it'll heat it up, and then they burn out very quickly. So potted electronic board, we take the same electronics and we put it in a mold, and they pour plastic over it, liquid plastic, and it hardens. Now it's encased in plastic. And we put heat sinks in there to dissipate the heat. So we're going to get basically a bulletproof power head. You've got a power head in here that's going to last a lifetime. That's how we get a lifetime warranty. Our failure rate on these power heads is less than 1/10 of 1%. We've also changed the screen to this diamond-shaped screen. Gives us a little more sturdiness to it. And basically the screen's job is just to hold the pillow pack into place there. So as you install these, the homeowner needs to know that the plating happens here. It holds about 10 times its mass in particles. So what that means is we're going to get about 3 to 4 months out of these. We sell the replacement media in 4-packs. We get people to think in quarters. It's best to change these every season. Spring, fall, summer, and winter. The best times when the change of seasons is the best time to change them. Occasionally, with a wider mesh screen, we don't have this problem like we used to, but the narrower screen, we used to get a lot of gauzing on here. You could vacuum that off. If you still have that, you can vacuum these and keep the pressure drop low. But occasionally, you may have to do that as it builds up into here. But you're still going to get the 3 to 4 months of electroplating of particles onto the pad in and of itself. So here again, just a couple of little reminders, different clips in a different area. The brush seal, that helps with blow-by as well. As you can see, we've got a brush seal all around the whole thing, which makes it easier to slide in and out. And it also gives us a better seal to stop the blow-by. We've got the 7,000 volt DC energy power head here, and it's induced across the whole pad. So you can see we get a solid polycarbon there, low pressure drop carbon. We've dropped our pressure drop by about 40% from our old carbon ones that we had. So for those installations where we're having, especially down south, when we had installations where we couldn't get a big enough filter in, if you size the filter right, your pressure drop should be fine. You know, you put a 1420 in a 5-ton unit, you're going to have a challenge no matter what size filter you put in there. So we have 40 standard sizes. This happens to be a 1625, our most popular size. The other sizes are 2025s, 2020s, 1620s, and we have, here again, 40 different standard sizes and some strange sizes that we make for our southern markets as well. All standard, all the same price, and we can custom make just about any size you want. Another little option we have here is this little ring here. Occasionally, not occasionally, there's about 30% of the time we have to drop these into a filter rack. And it's difficult to get it out unless you take a pair of pliers or something. So what you can do here is it comes in every pack. You just have the little screw that comes in and you screw one of these onto the frame itself. And then now you got a little hook to pull it out with. So that's a nice little feature for those applications where it's going to be more difficult to remove.